Hello, everyone, and welcome to Words from a Black Woman's Experience. I am your host, Cherlnell Lane, and I am glad that you came to share with us today. We're going to start something new today, and we're going to wait 1 or 2 minutes for people to find their place, come on in, and also for you to share this with your followers. Share this with your friends, share this with your fam, so that we can get people in on this wonderful, wonderful conversation. So please, right now, click share. Come on in, everybody. Take a seat, get your nice glass of wine or whatever it is you drink. It may be tea, it may be something stronger than wine. Hey, I am not here to judge. I just want you as comfortable as you can be with your ears open and ready to enjoy the words from this Black woman's experience. I am so excited for you all to be here today to share in this wonderful experience with this wonderful, wonderful guest. I cannot wait to get into it. Okay. So, hopefully, you all have shared and we can get started with the program. Again, my name is Cherlnell Lane, and this is Words from a Black Woman's Experience. I'm the founder of Cherlnell Lane LLC, where we help you use your words. As an author, speaker, facilitator, and poetic storyteller, I know how important it is to communicate. It's the way we express, learn, and teach. Words from a Black woman's experience was created to highlight Black women's stories. I have created a space where Black women can be themselves boldly and unapologetically. We talk about connections, the lessons we've learned, and the message we want to leave with the audience. I feel that words are one of the most powerful tools on earth, whether it be written, spoken, signed, sung, read, or performed. And these are words from a Black woman's experience. Today, we will be hearing from Miss Xaviera. I don't know if I said that right. I tried. She's going to correct me when she comes on. But I call her Zay. Miss Zay Bell in an episode called I Came to Ruffle Feathers. I mean, I just can't wait. Let's learn a little bit about Zay. Zay Bell is a certified entrepreneurship and business coach with a specific focus in REBT coaching, cognitive behavior coaching, and goal setting coaching for female entrepreneurs. She is an instructional and curriculum designer and holds a Master's of Science degree. Zay is an author of several books and workbooks. She is an energetic and comical certified facilitator and trainer with a matter of fact approach. She prides herself on being an aspiration architect and a manifestation coach. Her influence and reach through public speaking, coaching, and mentoring women is the force behind her drive. Zay is the executive director of Zeal of Xander, a nonprofit organization that was birthed after the loss of her son, Xander. She is the creator and organizer of the Start Her Kit, a project dedicated to advancing female entrepreneurs and women led businesses. A few of her other creative works include The Charging Station, a summit specifically designed for female empowerment, and The Chopping Block, an intensive entrepreneurial coaching session to assist new and aspiring entrepreneurs to get focused and trim the unnecessary distractions. Zabel does coaching, goal setting, and is a wonderful, wonderful author. In fact, she's such a wonderful author that she is working on a new book that is coming up soon. It is called Move Scared. And I cannot wait for her to tell you guys about that. Her Start Her Academy. It is going to be great. And she also has a Move Scared podcast. So I cannot wait for you all to hear from her. Now, I introduce to some and present to others one of my mentors, Miss Xaviera. Let's welcome her.
Hey, hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good.
Awesome. I am so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being a guest. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. Of course. Right now, I just want to take a minute to let everybody know that there is an interactive chat over on the side, which seems to already be popping.
Yeah,
So,
hey,
I just want everybody to know that they can put questions and they can put comments in the chat. We will address them. So make it interactive, people. We want to hear from you as well on this journey. Now, Ms. Zay,
yes.
How bad did I butcher your name? And please let everybody know. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're fine.
Xaviera. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
You're fine.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just like to get people's name right because people be messing up my name. You know what I'm saying?
Get it.
So yes. Okay, ma'am. Now we read your bio. Like
Every word.
Yes, of course. You deserve every word of it. I don't know what you thought this was. But you are amazing. Like you're doing so much and you have done so much. And I know that personally. So what we're going to talk about is our connection.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So I met Ms. Zabel. I don't even know when we actually met on Facebook. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm just going to be honest. I don't even remember like making you a Facebook friend. I have no idea what happened or how it happened, but it was meant to happen.
Yep.
It was meant to happen. I don't even remember. However, I do remember that you I do remember you putting out a word that you were looking for authors. Right. And much like me, you know, especially back then, I was like, okay, she's looking for like other authors and writers. Like she's not particularly looking for me, writer.
Right.
And then I believe you sent me like a personal message and you was like, hey, I'm talking to you. And I'm like, oh, you're talking to me. So I was like, oh, all right. But it was really cool. You like pushed me out of my comfort zone. It was so amazing the way you worked with me. Like the bio said, you have a matter of fact approach that is still loving and caring and encouraging. So I really appreciated that from you. I'll never forget in the book, My Journey to Exodus, How My Pain Produced Promise. Check that out on Amazon. Um, you said we're writing stories about going through our own exodus and how we came out the other side. And
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I got this story," and I literally wrote this whole entire story,
Yes, you did.
turned it in, edited it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, and you asked me, you was like, "Are you sure this is the story?"
Right. Right.
And I was like, "Yeah," because I was hiding the story I wanted to tell, and
Mm.
then I was like, I gotta tell this other story. She didn't get me,
Yes,
so
it
I
did.
ended up having to do the whole other story.
And you still met the deadline.
I did. I still met the deadline. So
Yeah.
thank you for pushing me to do that. You kind of helped me break out of my shell and become more of the open person I am. So thank you
Yeah.
so very much.
You're
So
welcome.
how do you remember us connecting?
You know what? Oh, look, my little mini me is on here. Hi, Xaviera. Uh, I have a mini me named Xaviera. She's from Alabama too. We love each
All
other.
right,
We're not gonna tell you anything.
Xaviera.
You know what? I really believe that we wrote for a magazine together. I feel like Curvy something or something like that. Or maybe it was a connection with like the big girl movement or something.
It might have been, yeah.
Um, but I remember you always being a poet and always been a wordsmith. And so when I had this crazy idea about releasing the whole My Journey to Exodus and all of this other stuff, and I was like, these people gonna think I'm crazy because ultimately, for you all who don't know about My Journey to Exodus, that book was done in like 90 days, hands down. And I was like, if they crazy enough to say yeah, we gonna ride out. And that's exactly what we did. We were just like, okay. And so and it was a really good success in regards to that book. But I wanted to do that book specifically because I feel like, a lot of women are held hostage, right? To their history. And their story. And so what happens in life is that we get so accustomed to not sharing who we are, that we become muzzled. And the beautiful thing that I love that my mom has taught me is no one can tell your story better than you. Do not give them
Mm.
the opportunity to do that. And so I wanted everybody to have the opportunity to tell their story, specifically because I wanted women to take their power back.
Mm. That is awesome. That is awesome. And I believe that you did that in that book for a lot of women, especially the women who participated in it.
Mhm.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now, everyone should know, and if you don't know, we're about to tell you. Today is the start of Women's History
Yeah,
Month. We are so excited. We know Black History Month is 365,
right.
but now is Women's History Month, and we also want to celebrate women. So, this being a Black women's podcast, I had to have an amazing Black woman on to kick off Women's History Month. So, Zay,
Hmm.
my question to you is, what will your pages in the history book read?
Um, I definitely believe that the pages in the history book will certainly read that what the title embodies is that I came to ruffle feathers, and and I really take pride in going into a space and asking hard questions. I remember when I was invited to come to an event. Specifically, I speak a lot in reference to Black maternal health, and also Black infant mortality because I've lived in the space, right? So I've lived in going into a hospital with a baby and coming out without one. And that's just the story of a lot of Black women. So I remember standing or sitting amongst a room full of people, and I had not even anticipated saying what I said, but there were so many different people giving perspectives, but none of them were mothers who had lost children. So,
Mm,
other people, men, I just really feel like men should not have a say when it comes to women's vaginas. Like, I,
absolutely.
I don't think that you should make rules and regulations and protocol when it comes to reproductive justice, when it comes to a child coming out of me. Um, and so I remember sitting in there, and the first things that came out of my mouth was unapologetically was, let me show you what white privilege looks like.
Mm. Hit them
And
with the.
it was like it was like a record play. You remember that scene on House Party when everybody was in there dancing and the guy kept hitting the table, and it was like, that's exactly how the scene went, right? It was like, and so I said, white privilege looks like your concern
Mm.
is who's going to put the car seat in the car and if it's
Mm.
connected correctly, right? Our concern is, will both of us make it out? Or will it
Absolutely.
just be one of us, or will it not be any of us at all? Right?
Absolutely.
And so those are the concerns that you have. And then what I recognized is that I started to kind of play out like my journey in working in corporate America, working in law enforcement and all of those things. I remember I was up for promotion every because I interview well. And I remember them sitting me down and saying, we're going to offer you the job, but we want you to work on your tact. Like you just say what you want to. And I was thinking, wow, is that a bad thing? And then I recognized Black women make people uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And that's not, and that's even when we show up, period. Like when we walk into the room and we walk into someone's space. So I knew off bat, right? Off rip, I knew that being Black, being educated, being very I don't want to say aggressive, but being very certain about what it was that I wanted, what I came into the space for, I knew that would make people uncomfortable, and I was okay with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand what you're saying completely. A lot of times, it infuriates me when I see men, so gung ho about what they have no idea about.
Right,
When people are more than qualified walking around with actual vaginas that
right,
have given actual
right.
birth, that have periods, you know what I'm saying? And they have no experience with that. However, it's it's like equating life to money,
Yeah,
and that's just incredibly unfair. So
right.
I definitely feel you there. About being assertive and everything, well, not assertive but stern, and
Mhm.
being able to say what you mean, and what needs to be said, right?
Right.
When other people do not say that, that is a strength that,
Mhm.
and a skill that I am still mastering.
Yeah, yeah. And it
Absolutely.
takes practice, like anything else in life.
Yeah.
It certainly takes practice. And what if nothing else, from this podcast, I hope that women, learn a couple of things. And one of them, I was watching Lovecraft Country, I think is the name of it, with my teenage sister. And so when the end came, listen, I'm not a movie spoiler, so I won't go into what the end looked like. But when the end came, she was like, "Wait, that's it? Like he did that for that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know what?" I said, "It's like black girl magic." She was like, "What?" And we were in a dialogue, and I was explaining it to her. I said, "Do you know, like sometimes you're in a space, and if you haven't been in a space, you will be in a space that when you
Mhm.
go in there, people immediately become very uncomfortable, and people immediately become very defensive, right? Because we're in this whole space of diversity and inclusion and all of these things. And I said that, when you hear the words black girl magic, that's exactly what it is. It is the fact that there is something about black women um,
Absolutely.
that no one can explain. And that even is not explainable by black women, right? Like there's
Mhm.
something that we have. Like if you give us some flour and some sugar, we're gonna make a cake, okay? And not only are we gonna make it, it's going to be well constructed and we're gonna sell it, right? You
Yeah.
give us some material and a shack, we're gonna make some curtains and some drapes and we're gonna make it right. So there is something about black women that we take the scraps and we make a masterpiece. And nobody can
Absolutely.
explain that. Not even us. We just automatically know what to do. I remember, having my son and I was thinking, I don't even know how to have a baby. Like, right? Listen, I know how to practice making a baby, but honey, I don't know how
Right.
to have it. Like, how am I gonna know how to have it? And my mother was like, you gonna know, okay? Like you gonna know with that, you're gonna know. And instinctively, I just knew, like, okay, it's time to push this thing out of me. And so I think that it's just something so beautiful about being in the know. And so when you are in the know and you are very sure about what you came to do, and
Mhm.
all the time we come to make you uncomfortable for a reason. You just have to find out what your reason is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so true. The energy that we bring,
Yeah,
in a room is amazing. And even to like other sisters,
yeah,
when you have black women who are accepting of other black women, who are empowering other black women, who see black women as their sisters to work together with. There's a vibe
right.
when there's black women in the room and a black woman. It's like, hey, I see you, I see you.
Yeah, it's like, you
So
good? Like, yeah, I'm good. Okay.
yeah, like
Yeah.
girl. Even if it's just a look,
Right.
we're communicating through that look. Like, yeah, my power recognize your power. What I'm saying?
and and
So
and not all the time is it. And sometimes we get in the space where my power recognizes your power and your power don't like mine. Okay, so I mean, let's just be completely and totally honest. But
absolutely,
sometimes we get in a room where we recognize that, hey, we're in sync and I want you to be okay. So if
yeah,
anything pop off in here, let me know. Right. And
right,
that's just done just with non-verbally, right? um because I feel like, black women look after black women.
yeah, yeah. I think that comes to play when the hashtag was created, protect black women.
Yeah,
So I heard someone say, I cannot remember who said it, but they said black women have been protecting black women.
yeah,
So definitely we have a comment from Ernestine Battles, because they can see all the blessings that's on your life, and they don't understand sometimes why they don't have them.
yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's a good that's definitely a good way to see that. And so sometimes, when there is a lack of comprehension, right? We become defensive, and there's no need for that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to outshine you, but what I do want is to stand close enough to you so that I illuminate you as well.
Absolutely.
And so we need to just be in a place where we can share that. We can share that light, and we can share our stage, and we can share the knowledge and the experiences that we have, because I don't have the same experiences that you have. You don't have the same
Absolutely.
experiences that I have. But what I do know for a fact is that there is a commonality that we have, and the commonality is that at the end of the day, we survived it, whatever it
Absolutely.
was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, that what Ernestine said goes along with what I was gonna say. My mom used to always tell me, about energies not liking each other, right? About getting bullied growing up or whatever the case may be. She would always tell me, and I'm sure a lot of black children heard this from their mamas. They just jealous of you, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Mhm.
And me being in the space was like, what do they have to be jealous of? Why would somebody be jealous of me? But as I got older and I became more observant,
Yeah.
right? I learned not about only about people who bothered me, but just in general watching people.
Yeah.
Usually, it is somebody who feels insecure about something they see in you that they
Yeah.
want to be, um, or something along those lines.
Mhm.
One of I think the most damning things that black women can do, and it's definitely seen in younger black women and girls, teenagers, is a person looks at them and then they're ready to fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
why she looking at me? I'm like, I used to tell the young girls all the time. I'd be like, maybe she likes your clothes.
Right.
Thinks you're
Maybe she likes
somebody
your
else.
face.
No.
Maybe she likes your face.
Maybe she like, all right, girl, I see you. So I think also that's something, especially with the younger people, that we have to go in and kind of teach them and kind of show them that you don't have to have that animosity and that anger towards everybody.
I
You
also
know.
believe too is that I'm gonna plug my computer because it's acting crazy. But I also believe too that there has to be a reprogramming that we have, right?
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of things that we allow um for our kids to go through that we necessarily should not, right?
Yeah.
Like even telling the young women the reason that the little boy hits you on the playground is because he likes you. Like
Yes.
because he's an ass. Like, no, girl, no, girl. He's a terrible little boy, just like his dad was,
Right,
right?
because
So
I
those
think
are behaviors.
yeah, I think that leads to stuff like um you know, if he don't hit me, he don't love me as adults,
Right, 100%.
or he's soft because he don't handle me aggressively, or he don't throw me around and things like that. I
Right,
think all of that is spawned from talk like that.
right, and we have to do better with that, right?
Yeah.
Because because what that does is that allows for us to condone bad behavior. Um, and so that's just not something that we can afford. We cannot afford the bad behavior. We cannot afford to put our young women in spaces where they feel like because he beats me or he hits me, it means that he cares more about me, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so we have to definitely do a better job with that. Um, and just even like you were saying when it came to people being jealous and stuff like that. I remember I had long hair. I've always had hair that's long. um and I recall some girls just running after me pulling my hair, and I was thinking, why would you do that to a person? Like that's just crazy. And I never, and to this day I don't understand it. But I also understand. I also was brought back to that when I think yesterday or the day before, I went to the beauty supply store and I was getting something for my hair, and this lady behind me was like, "Who did your hair?" And I was like, "Ramona." She's like, "She did a good job, and that's all your hair too, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." And so when I walked away, she grabbed my hand, like she grabbed it and touched it. And I was thinking, I wonder why people do things that are strange. Like that was just like for me, that was very weird. Um, for somebody to just touch somebody else's hair, and
I
I was like, oh, I wonder why she thought that was okay. And even when I was,
look.
it's that's just so crazy.
It's extremely crazy. I have a similar story. I was at a women's business development center conference. Okay. We are walking around in business attire, going to conferences, learning about pitches and different things of that nature. And this young lady, as I'm talking to the owners of the Black Mall, right? We're Black excellence going on. She walks up to me and she's like, "Oh, is that your hair?" And before I can say anything,
She touched it.
no, not touch, grabbed me by my hair. And I'm in a chair, so I'm low.
You're right.
She's tall, and she's literally got a handful of my hair in her hands. And I'm like, could you please let go of my hair?
Please.
Let go of my hair. I was like, I cannot go off. These people gave me a scholarship to this thing.
Right. Right. And she's in here acting ignorant.
Right. I'm like, oh my God. But I was saying the same thing. Like, why would somebody do that?
Yeah, why is that okay?
Right. Why do you think that that's acceptable?
Yeah.
We have a comment from Ernestine Battle. She says, between each other, we should join together to get through things, not fight against each other. She also says, no one should hit you. We have to reprogram our children, our women to love themselves in order to give love to each other.
Hands down.
Yes.
100%.
I love both of those comments. So I have another question for you.
Okay.
And that question is, what is your favorite quote and why?
Okay, so I love the Marilyn Monroe quote that, well-behaved women rarely make history. But I also like, a quote that I always, say is that, ultimately we just we were not able to choose the hand that we were dealt, right? So we didn't go into the life's shopping center and say, you know what, for my life, what I would like to have is this, and this, right? What we do, what we have to do, and what we can only do is play the cards that we were dealt. And it's left up with us what we're gonna do with them. Like, are you gonna play out of your turn? Are you gonna renege, right? Are you going
right?
Like, how many books do you have? Like, are you gonna bend your hand correctly and properly? So are you going to wait on your partner? Are you going to depend on them so that you can make it to the next round? Like, what is it that you're going to do with your hand? But ultimately, you're responsible for what you do with it.
Absolutely. I feel like that is definitely like a lead in to having certain challenges or difficulties come along in your life, and the way, like you said, the way you play those cards, right? And everybody plays them differently, as you stated, but it's the way you play your cards.
Yeah.
So in keeping in tune with that, there was something, and you spoke about it earlier. There was a card that you were dealt, and you flipped it into this organization, into speaking, into helping other people. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why it ties into the reason why you came to Ruffle Feathers?
So when it's so interesting how life happens, right? So in the end of 2017, it was, no lie, maybe the New Year's Eve, or the first. And so I just was feeling out of sorts, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. I'm feeling out of sorts. This is strange. I had just came back from interviewing with the company that I work with now, and they had offered me a position, but I would have to live somewhere in America, and I did not know where that was going to be. Right, that was something that you would learn later. And I had accepted the position and found out I was pregnant. And I remember sitting on the bathroom floor in a t-shirt and some panties, just looking like, what? am I gonna do with a baby? Like, what am I gonna do with a baby? And I
Yeah.
like all of the things that could have ever happened on CNN or something. I'm like, Lord, I may leave the baby in the car. Like, I'm gonna be one of the parents that fool around and leave their baby in the car, or just do something crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember calling his dad, and I was just like, "You trapped me!" Oh, I lost it, right? And so I, left and went to wound up being in Raleigh, North Carolina. His dad was in Tampa, Florida, where I moved from. And so I got to Raleigh in March, and so I was there for a couple of weeks. Found a OB, and I went for an anatomy scan. And so you are supposed to have your anatomy scan maybe about 19 to 21, 22 weeks. And so I had an anatomy scan, and my son is just who he was, right? Who he is, rambunctious, right? So he's in there sucking his thumb, hugging my placenta, doing whatever he does best. And they said, "We cannot find your cervix." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What does that mean?" And they were like, "Well, that means that we're gonna have to have the doctor to do a check, right?" So he did that and wound up sending me to UNC Chapel Hill. So I drove there, and when I think back about it, it was like so many things that could have prevented this, right? And I think that is what there's a level that you have that you get angry and that you get bothered, but there's also a level that you have that pisses you off, right? And
It's
so
that right
at
there.
this point, the one thing that you don't want to do is piss me off. And so I think that as I sat in the situation, I got more and more infuriated with what had transpired. And so went there. They told me, "Hey, listen, we are not going to be able to give you a cerclage, which is a stitching of the cervix to hold the cervix together." And they said, "You're going to have your son." And so my parents came, my best friend came. I wound up having Xander. He passed away the same day that he was birthed. And I remember sitting at my hospital bed just weeping. Like I had never been so broken in my life. Um, and I was completely and totally broken. And so, with that being said, I recall just telling God, like, listen, I am not going to hurt this bad for no reason. And in sitting there, I told God, you're going to have to give me a purpose for this pain. Like, you're going to have to do it. And when we left out, me and my best friend, we left out, we were going to my car. And so because we were going to my car, I lost my vehicle because I came there, I parked somewhere, I just went to the ER so that they can go ahead and just, get me to the back. And I saw this parking attendant driving around. And so when she stopped, she was looking like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I cannot find my car. Do you guys tow?" Like, I'm like, do you tow? So now I've come in, I've had to have a child early, I've lost a
Mm-hmm.
baby. And so now I can't find my car, right? So the lady said, "No, we don't tow unless, you have order to tow." And then she says, "Can I have a piece of let me have a piece of your cake?" And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? And so my best friend was holding this humongous keepsake box that they give you at the hospital. And like when I looked at my best friend, she was looking like, "Oh Lord," like the fear of God just came down on her. And I was like, "Oh, that's not cake. That is I said, I came into this hospital with a baby, and now all I have left is a box of stuff that I will never be able to use." And so she was just very apologetic. And so I realized that, hey, you know what? We need to change the face of what that looks like. And so what that looks like is I don't want another mom to walk out with a box that looks like a cake in it. And she and her husband, or she and her boyfriend, or the baby's daddy, or whatever situation you guys have, is that you have to explain that, listen, I don't have a baby. I just have this box of stuff. And so I was working in collaboration with UNC at the time, just about getting like the keepsake boxes, and I some kind of way, the news learned about the situation, and they covered Xander's story, Xander and my story, and UNC really wanted to be in partnership with me to change those things. And so within 90 days of Xander's birth and death, we started a nonprofit organization. And ultimately, the nonprofit was to bring awareness to infant loss. But then the trajectory of what we were trying to do changed, because what I wanted to do was bring awareness to the fact that Black babies are dying more often, right? So they push us, go to college, it'll be fine. But what they don't tell us is that Black babies are depending on where you are located, 3 to 6 times more likely to die than white babies. And that it doesn't matter if you are educated, it doesn't matter if you're making a decent salary. That's just what it is. And so I felt like, because I had a master's degree, I had good insurance, I had all these things, but the outcomes of birth for Black women is that white women with a less than an 8th grade education has a more successful delivery than we do. Their babies live longer. Their babies are larger. Their babies are healthier, and our babies are dying. And so I wanted to bring awareness to that. So what I started to do was just look for literature. I'm like, you know what? I just really want to look, and I want to read stories from other Black women, and I could not find those. I found a few books, but I didn't find what I needed. And so what I decided to do is last year, I decided to just build relationships with other moms that were grieving, other Black women that had lost babies, other organizations, nonprofits, those things, to work on a book project. And so the book project that we're releasing next month, April, we are releasing The Morning After. And so The Morning After is a book with providers in it. It's a book with women that have lost children in it. So this is the first book of the sort. And we are introducing that as a group of Black women. It's maybe about 40 women.
I think that is so needed,
Yeah.
because we have been hearing about this. It's not necessarily, I just want to say, it's not new. You know what I'm saying? We've been hearing about these statistics, and we've been hearing about, and even before we heard about it, we knew. It's kind of like the black girl magic thing.
Yeah.
It's known. We know that when we go into the doctor's offices, whether it's to be having a baby, whether it's to get a checkup, whether it's you have a chronic illness,
Right.
whatever it may be, we are treated differently. And
Yeah.
it really is ridiculous. I feel like, I can just speak from my experience. I hate going to the doctor, and this is why. I go to the emergency room. First, I go to urgent care all the time. First, I call my doctor because I don't want to go to either of those places.
Right. Right.
And they're like, go to urgent care. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to urgent care. Then I go to urgent care. They're like, go to the emergency room. I'm like, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, we don't find a reason why you're dying today.
Right.
And when you're in pain, they're like, you're a drug addict,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to give you anything, some Tylenol. You're like, I ripped my arm off my socket. You're going to give me Tylenol, and
Right.
we'll give you some extra strength. And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's just learning statistically, when the fact that Black women are not heard. So that's the core of it. And I remember going into the hospital and just not the hospital, but going to my doctor's appointment. And I was like, something doesn't feel right. I feel like Xander's in my cervix. And they were like, no, he's too small to be in your cervix. And I was like, oh, okay. So they checked my cervix and said, oh, your cervix is closed from the outside. But they never checked the inside. If they had done the ultrasound, they would have seen that my cervix was funneling, and they would have caught it. Now, the other interesting thing about the whole situation was they changed my due date by 10 days. So the only thing that they kept telling me was that if he was 23 weeks, we could intervene. My mother said, why are all these people coming in here? And I told her I wanted every single person that came into contact with me and my son that said that they could not save him. I need for you to explain to me why. And so, because I need for you to be accountable for what you told me, right?
Absolutely.
And so, if you told me that you can't save my son, why can't you do that? Why can't you do it? And so they changed my due date by 10 days, which would have put Xander at 23 weeks. And I was like, so because the paper says that. Because when I delivered him, the nurse, it was a black nurse in there. Her name was Nurse Jackie. She said, he's bigger than I expected. Do you want me to go ahead and call the NICU? And the doctor was like, no. And I was thinking, why not? Like, no, why? Why no? Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that when people, this is the example of what the importance of advocating for yourself looks like.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, we have to be able to have a voice to say, why can't you said that you can't do it? Why?
Absolutely. We have a comment. It's only difficult for anyone to understand anything if they're not willing to do so. The lack of acknowledging to anything that's different is just that. It's different, not wanted and or needed. And that's exclusively led from YouTube. That is, first of all, I am sorry that happened to you and Xander, and you have my condolences. Definitely. It is really, like you said, infuriating, and it makes me upset about just how Black women are treated, period.
Yeah.
In the health industry, in the medical field. Um, it's just crazy. I'm glad that you talked about speaking up, because that is something we need to do. That is something that I'm practicing as well. But as people get closer and closer to pissing me off, it's easier to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, I was just in a hospital about 2 days ago, and the doctor, once I got on the floor, the doctor, I have narcolepsy. So I was like going out, and she kept trying to wake me up. And she's like, you gotta wake up, you gotta wake up. And I'm like, I have narcolepsy. And so if I go in and out, that's not something I can control. That's not
Right.
me just ignoring you and falling asleep. Well, if you keep going to sleep, then I'm gonna have to keep nudging you and waking you up. I'm like, okay, you obviously don't understand narcolepsy.
Right.
Yes. At a certain point, you can nudge all you want and nothing's going to happen.
At a certain
So,
point, you can drag me up out of here and I wouldn't know it.
exactly. And she's like, keep hitting me and stuff. And then I think she said, I might have been narcoleptic high, but I think she said, if you keep going to sleep, I'm going to have to pinch you. And I swear I went out at that part. And so I went out. That was God. There was no more questions that I could answer because I was just out to the next morning, and I know she was upset. And I was looking for that doctor the whole next day.
Yeah, and you know what though? It's so interesting that you said that you were looking for a doctor, because I looked for a doctor for 2 years. For a doctor that was there with Xander, and I became a volunteer doula. And so one of my clients was, having her son, and I was there, and the doctor that was there that was supposed to deliver Xander was her doctor.
Oh wow!
And I looked at him, and of course, it was COVID, so I had the mask on, and I looked at him. I said, "I've been looking for you for 2 years," and he was like, "Oh," I said, "You delivered my son," and then he said, "Oh, how is he?" I said, "He died here." And it was like silence fell in the room. Like, everybody was like they were just so silent. Listen, I came to make sure that you do your job. And the one thing that I told my client is that, when it comes to birth, things happen, things shift. We go in with a plan, and that's just like life, right? We go in with a plan. We want to grow up to be a doctor. We want to grow up to be a lawyer. We want to grow up to be this, and then things change and circumstances change. That's the same thing. We go in with this birth plan. We want it. We don't want the drugs. We don't want a episiotomy. We don't want a cesarean. We don't want all of these different things. And then situations change, because ultimately what happens is that the baby runs the show, and we have to follow that. And I remember standing and being so firm and saying, both of us, because she had already experienced the loss before, and I said, both of us know what it feels like to walk out of this hospital without a baby. This is not the day that we're going to experience that again. Right. So we're going to make so everybody, we're on a team, and we're going to do all that we need to do. And we're going to make the decisions that we need to make sure that this baby is born alive. What do we need to do that? And so, and I really believe that we are in a space, specifically when it comes to Black women. This is this is Women's History Month. When it comes to Black men, when it comes to Black people, we are in a space where we are pregnant with something, and we keep it in us for way too long, because we depend on somebody else to help us come through and deliver it, right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, what they just want is it out of you. They don't care how it comes out. They just, they don't care if it's alive. They don't want to care they don't care if it's in right season. They do not care. And so we have to be responsible for making sure that when we deliver something, when we deliver our dream, when we deliver our purpose, that we do it in the right season, we do it in the right space, we do it surrounded by the right people, and we do it to make sure that it's alive and well.
Oh, that is awesome. This has been so great. This has been awesome. I really love talking to you. I love your story. I love that people got to hear your story and ask questions and everything. We got a amen, amen, amen. Speak, sister.
And I see my on here. Hey, Jupiter.
I put up his comment earlier, but you were like in it. So I was like, let her, put it up, but let me let her finish. And I first of all, I want to know if you can leave anything with the audience. What would you leave?
I was this morning. I think a lot in the bathroom. Okay, so what y'all do in y'all bathroom is y'all business, but what I do in my shower is think. All right. So I was thinking just about just certain situations, and so I was thinking about posture. And the thing that I thought about with posture is that sometimes we get so firm in standing in our truth that we don't kneel in our reality. Right? Like sometimes your position holds up your progress. Right? So we have to be to a place where we understand that a bow is not a forfeit. It's a catapult. So I will, if there's anything that I will leave with you, is that sometimes the best progress is made on our knees. The best progress is made on our knees. Why? Because we get to see what it looks like from the bottom up. There is nothing more beautiful, because you cannot admire the mountaintop while you stand on it. You admire it when it is in your line of vision, right? And Absolutely. So that only comes from standing at the bottom. Absolutely. What a disgrace would it be to know what the mountaintop looks like and never appreciate it when you get to the top. So what I will say is the best success is found through failure. Absolutely. Sometimes some situations have to break you down. There is no way that I would have thought that my son will be 3 years old next month on the 25th. I meant that I was not going to survive 3 years. If it was anything that I could have done to prevent me from making it this far, I would have done it. But what I also recognize is, I remember, and I tell the story all the time about my mom standing outside of the funeral home, and she put her hands on my face, and she held it, and she said, there's nothing worse for a mother is to know that there is nothing that she can do when her child is hurting. She said, but I have seen you down before, and I know that the one thing that you're good for is a comeback, and I cannot wait to see who you become after this. And so what I will say is, sometimes the things that we go through are so abrasive that they knock the pure hide, they knock the skin off of us. But when we allow those wounds to heal, right, when we allow the new skin to come back, it comes back tougher. And so there, it would be a shame, it would be a pity and a shame for you to be an expert, and your trauma has qualified you to be an expert in the area, and you not walk in it. And so I will say, don't allow for the times that you have stumbled to prevent you from your progress and prevent you from your promise. Allow for those times to prepare you for the new place that you are going.
Yes, that all those were words, all of them. Ashe. Thank you so very much again. This was a great conversation. I've learned so much. So, and inspired and empowered. So I know that you spread that across the airways today. Let's hear about a little bit about you. You know, give your social media handle. Tell us what's coming up.
So great things are coming. So for Xander's third birthday, we will be releasing the morning after, which, like I said, is a Black woman's experience dealing with infant loss, right? And we have also been joined by neonatologists, doulas, midwives. March of Dimes is participating. We have like so many different organizations that have joined us on this journey, which was absolutely phenomenal to get them involved. So we will be doing some things, for Zeal of Xander. We're going to come back looking a little bit different. So, definitely you can go to zealofxander.org, Zeal of Xander on Facebook. I am Zaybell on Instagram. And so the other thing that I'm doing is I do something I used to do it every 90 days. So every 90 days I will hop on a plane, and I would go somewhere that I had never gone before, to meet people that I have never met, and to learn things that I would have never learned if I had not been there. However, I turned 40 on the 30th, right? I thank my mom and my daddy for this. Listen, when they
Don't cry.
when they got together, they did something great. And so what I have decided for the year of 40 is that I'm going to experience a new place every single month. So January was Miami, February was Orlando, and March is gonna be Puerto Rico. So every month I go somewhere different, I meet new people, and I do new things. And so that's what Move Scared was. Xander birthed Move Scared because I didn't know what my next move was gonna be. But what I knew was that I went into my next move with the expectation to come out greater. Right. And so that's what I'm doing, every single month for the year of 40, is that I'm gonna go somewhere, and when I leave, I will not be the same, right? And so that is what Move Scared is about. Move Scared is about not knowing what your next move is, but knowing that you are qualified, and that you're able to go in any situation, any circumstance, and come out better. How do you know if you are going to be successful in this if you don't even try? If your dream does not scare you, it's not big enough. So you have to move in the fear, right? And so that is, what this work will be doing. It's just encouraging people, move scared. I promise you, you will not regret it. So that book is coming out. And I have rebranded my company, Start Her Academy. And so my business partner and I, Monica Timmons, we are really focusing on women and rebranding, and just, mentoring women to take that business idea, whether it be new or old, and just run with it and give it everything that you have. So often as women, we're involved in so many things, that a lot of things go lacking and they only get 10 or 15 or 20% of us. And so we want to help women to get advanced in saying no to things that do not grow us, that do not serve us, and do not feed us, so that we can give effort to where it needs to be, and where that needs to be is wherever it's going to advance us.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I'll be needing that program, Star Her Academy. I need to be a student.
All right.
But thank you so very much again.
Thank you
We're
right
gonna
back.
close out. I think it was great having you again. I love that hat.
Thank you. You know, this is my
Um,
new thing. Fedoras are my new thing.
yes. Well, it fits you right here. It fits you.
Listen, when I come to see you in I think I'll be there. Maybe I'm probably coming there August, September. I'll bring you one.
Check me out. I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna build me an outfit.
It's gonna be purple though, because it's gonna be purple.
You know, I gotta be purple.
Yeah.
But thank you so very much for coming. I hope that you all tune in next week, which will be the 8th, which will be International Women's Day. And I'm excited for that to come up. We're going to have a special guest, and I can't wait for you all to hear from her. Um, if you want to reach me, it's at Cherlnell everywhere, which is Cherlnell. That is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, anywhere you want to tell me. Email Cherlnell at Cherlnell. Again, that's Cherlnell. Please email me if you want to be a guest on the show. If you know of anybody who will make a great guest on the show, we're here every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for coming, and this has been Words from a Black Woman's Experience. Peace. This was our piece, and we'll see you next week.